Welcome to Motivemustery, where the wisdom of the ages meets the challenges of today. In today's video, we delve into the fascinating life and philosophy of Gilles Deleuze, a groundbreaking French philosopher and a pivotal figure in post-structuralism and continental philosophy. Deleuze, renowned for his innovative concepts and profound insights, has significantly influenced various fields, including philosophy, literature, art, and psychoanalysis. His philosophical approach, characterized by its creativity and complexity, challenged traditional structures and perceptions. His collaborations with Félix Guattari, particularly in the works Anti-Oedipus and A Thousand Plateaus, revolutionized contemporary thought. These works explore themes like desire, politics, and social structure, offering a radical departure from orthodox psychoanalytic and philosophical traditions. Beyond his academic contributions, Deleuze's ideas have permeated into broader cultural spheres, inspiring new ways of thinking about individuality, society, and the nature of reality. Join us as we explore 30 of Deleuze's most thought-provoking quotes and their profound relevance in our current times. A concept is a brick. It can be used to build a courthouse of reason, or it can be thrown through the window. Delving into the historical context, Gilles Deleuze, a key figure in post-structuralism, profoundly impacted 20th century philosophy. Deleuze's thought here highlights the transformative potential of concepts. They can either contribute to established structures of knowledge or challenge and disrupt prevailing perceptions. Reflecting on our current times, this quote urges us to recognize the power of ideas in shaping or redefining our worldviews, especially in an era of rapid information and ideological shifts. If you're trapped in the dream of the other, you're fucked. Gilles Deleuze often challenged the notion of individual identity being influenced by external factors. This statement underscores the importance of authentic selfhood, warning against losing oneself in the expectations or narratives of others. In our interconnected world, this quote is a stark reminder to maintain our individuality and not get lost in the collective consciousness or societal norms. Bring something incomprehensible into the world. Deleuze's philosophy often embraced the unconventional and the creation of new concepts. This quote is an exhortation to innovate and challenge existing boundaries of thought and understanding. Today, this call to action inspires creativity and encourages us to think beyond the confines of conventional wisdom, fostering groundbreaking ideas and perspectives. Writing has nothing to do with meaning. It has to do with land surveying and cartography, including the mapping of countries yet to come. Deleuze viewed writing as an exploratory and creative process, akin to charting new territories. This quote reflects his belief that writing is about exploring unknown spaces and possibilities, rather than conveying predefined meanings. In our modern context, this perspective encourages us to view writing and creative expression as tools for discovery and innovation, not just communication of established ideas. The fundamental problem of political philosophy is still precisely the one that Spinoza saw so clearly, and that Wilhelm Reich rediscovered. Why do men fight for their servitude as stubbornly as though it were their salvation? Delving into the historical context, Gilles Deleuze, a key figure in post-structuralism, profoundly impacted 20th century philosophy. Deleuze's thought here highlights the transformative potential of concepts. They can either contribute to established structures of knowledge or challenge and disrupt prevailing perceptions. Reflecting on our current times, this quote urges us to recognize the power of ideas in shaping or redefining our worldviews, especially in an era of rapid information and ideological shifts. It is not the slumber of reason that engenders monsters, but vigilant and insomniac rationality. Reflecting Deleuze's critique of over-rationalization, this quote challenges traditional views on reason and its consequences. It suggests that an obsessive, hyper-rational approach to understanding the world can lead to distortions and monsters, rather than a lack of reason. This is particularly relevant in a time where extreme rationalism can overshadow human values, reminding us to balance logic with empathy and intuition. The shame of being a man, is there any better reason to write? This provocative statement by Deleuze questions societal norms and gender constructs. It reflects his view that writing is not just a creative outlet, but a means to challenge and critique societal expectations, especially around masculinity. In today's context, this quote encourages us to use writing as a tool for social critique and personal reflection, especially regarding gender roles and identities. The self is only a threshold, a door, a becoming between two multiplicities. Deleuze's perspective on identity challenges the notion of a fixed, singular self. This quote implies that the self is not a static entity but a dynamic process of continual change and interaction with different forces and influences. It resonates in a modern world where our identities are increasingly fluid and shaped by a confluence of diverse experiences, encouraging a more flexible and open understanding of self. The shadow escapes from the body like an animal we had been sheltering. Deleuze often explored the relationship between the physical and the abstract, the visible and the invisible. This quote reflects on the transient nature of existence and the elusive aspects of our identity and consciousness. In today's dynamic world, it reminds us of the ever-changing and intangible elements of our being, encouraging exploration beyond the tangible. Shit on your whole mortifying, imaginary, and symbolic theater. Deleuze was known for his blunt critiques of societal structures and norms. This provocative quote challenges us to reject the confining and often illusory aspects of societal expectations and norms. It resonates with those who feel constrained by societal roles and expectations, urging them to break free from conformist narratives and explore authentic self-expression. Forming grammatically correct sentences is for the normal individual the prerequisite for any submission to social laws. No one is supposed to be ignorant of grammaticality. Those who belong in special institutions. The unity of language is fundamentally political. Deleuze's thoughts often intersected with the political and social implications of language and communication. This quote examines how language and its structures can be instruments of control and conformity within societal systems. It's especially relevant in a world where language not only communicates but also shapes our thoughts and behaviors, highlighting the need for critical awareness of how we use and are governed by language. To become imperceptible oneself, to have dismantled love in order to become capable of loving, to have dismantled oneself in order finally to be alone and meet the true double at the other end of the line. A clandestine passenger on a motionless voyage. To become like everybody else, but this, precisely, is a becoming only for one who knows how to be nobody, to no longer be anybody. To paint oneself gray on gray. Deleuze frequently explored the theme of self-transcendence and the dissolution of identity. This quote delves into the concept of letting go of the constructed self to discover a more profound connection with others and the world, essentially becoming nobody to find a deeper self. In our era of identity and image obsession, this perspective challenges us to reconsider our true selves beyond social constructions and appearances, promoting a journey towards genuine self-discovery. You never walk alone. Even the devil is the Lord of Flies. Deleuze often highlighted the interconnectedness of all things, challenging isolated views of existence. This quote suggests that we are always in company, whether with others or with our own thoughts and demons, symbolized here as the Lord of Flies. In a world that often feels lonely and disconnected, this quote reminds us of our constant companionship with the world around us, encouraging a sense of unity and interconnectedness. Philosophy, art, and science are not the mental objects of an objectified brain, but the three aspects under which the brain becomes subject. Deleuze often sought to redefine traditional concepts of thought and knowledge. This quote challenges the perception of philosophy, art, and science as mere products of the brain, proposing instead that they are ways in which the brain engages with and understands the world. In our current society, this idea encourages a more dynamic view of these disciplines, seeing them as active processes of engagement and discovery rather than static fields of knowledge. Courage consists, however, in agreeing to flee rather than live tranquilly and hypocritically in false refuges. Values, morals, homelands, religions, and these private certitudes that our vanity and our complacency bestow generously on us, have many deceptive sojourns as the world arranges for those who think they are standing straight and at ease. Among stable things, Deleuze often critiqued the comfort of conventional thinking and societal norms. This quote speaks to the bravery required to challenge and escape from the societal constructs and false security that limit our true potential and authenticity. In today's world, where conformity often reigns, this thought encourages individuals to question and move beyond societal expectations and norms, fostering a journey towards true self-discovery and authenticity. A leftist government doesn't exist because being on the left has nothing to do with governments. Deleuze often expressed skepticism towards traditional political structures and their alignment with ideological labels. This quote challenges the notion that political ideologies can be neatly categorized within government systems, suggesting that true leftist ideals may exist outside of formal political structures. In a contemporary context, this prompts a reflection on how political ideals are represented in governments, urging us to consider broader and perhaps more grassroots perspectives on political ideologies. An image of thought called philosophy has been formed historically, and it effectively stops people from thinking. Deleuze was critical of how traditional philosophy can become rigid and dogmatic, stifling original thought. This quote implies that philosophy, when institutionalized, can limit the dynamic and evolving nature of thought, positioning itself as the only legitimate way to think. In our current intellectual climate, this challenges us to break free from established modes of thinking and encourages the pursuit of diverse and innovative ways of understanding the world. There's no democratic state that's not compromised to the very core by its part in generating human misery. Deleuze often questioned the effectiveness and integrity of political systems, including democracies. This quote criticizes the inherent contradictions within democratic states that contribute to social inequality and suffering, despite their ideals. In today's global landscape, this perspective prompts a critical examination of how democratic systems can be complicit in societal issues, urging a reevaluation of their roles and effectiveness. The technocrat is the natural friend of the dictator, computers, and dictatorship, but the revolutionary lives in the gap which separates technical progress from social totality, and inscribed there his dream of permanent revolution. This dream, therefore, is itself action, reality, and an effective menace to all established order. It renders possible what it dreams about. Deleuze was critical of how technological advances can be co-opted by oppressive systems. This quote illustrates the dichotomy between the use of technology for control and the revolutionary potential to use it for societal change. In the context of our modern world, it encourages a critical view of technological progress and its potential to either reinforce or challenge existing power structures. To affirm is not to bear, carry, or harness oneself to that which exists, but on the contrary to unburden, unharness, and set free that which lives. Deleuze emphasized the liberating aspect of philosophy and thought. This quote suggests that true affirmation involves freeing ideas and possibilities, rather than confining them to existing frameworks. In our present-day society, it serves as a reminder to embrace creative and innovative thinking, breaking free from conventional constraints to realize new potentialities. In truth, Freud sees nothing and understands nothing. Deleuze often questioned the effectiveness and integrity of political systems, including democracies. This quote criticizes the inherent contradictions within democratic states that contribute to social inequality and suffering, despite their ideals. In today's global landscape, this perspective prompts a critical examination of how democratic systems can be complicit in societal issues, urging a reevaluation of their roles and effectiveness. Every time someone puts an objection to me, I want to say, okay, let's go on to something else. Objections have never contributed anything. Deleuze, known for his radical thoughts, often embraced the fluidity of ideas over rigid argumentation. He saw objections as limitations to creative thinking and intellectual exploration. This quote underscores the importance of moving beyond conventional disputes to explore new realms of thought and creativity, unfettered by opposition. In a world where debate often becomes an end in itself, this perspective invites us to focus more on constructive dialogue and the creation of new ideas rather than just defending old ones. Lose your face, become capable of loving without remembering, without phantasm and without interpretation, without taking stock. Let there just be fluxes, which sometimes dry up, freeze, or overflow, which sometimes combine or diverge. Deleuze often spoke of the need to move beyond personal identity and fixed ideas in order to experience life more fully. This quote suggests the importance of letting go of preconceptions and ego to engage in more genuine and unfiltered experiences of love and life. It encourages a contemporary interpretation of love and relationships, inviting us to embrace fluidity and change, free from traditional constraints and definitions. It is always from the depths of its impotence that each power center draws its power, hence their extreme maliciousness and vanity. Deleuze often explored the paradoxes inherent in power structures and systems. This quote points out the irony that power often stems from a place of weakness or inadequacy, leading to overcompensation through malice and egotism. It challenges us to critically analyze and understand the underlying motivations of power centers in our society, recognizing their potential for harmful overreach. Philosophy does not serve the state or the church, who have other concerns. It serves no established power. The use of philosophy is to sadden. A philosophy that saddens no one, that annoys no one, is not a philosophy. It is useful for harming stupidity, for turning stupidity into something shameful. Deleuze emphasized the role of philosophy as a challenge to complacency and conventional thinking. This quote asserts that philosophy should provoke thought and discomfort, challenging established norms and encouraging critical reflection. It encourages a perspective on philosophy as an active force in society, one that disrupts and questions rather than passively accepting or supporting the status quo. Art is not communicative. Art is not reflexive. Art, science, philosophy are neither contemplative, neither reflexive, nor communicative. They are creative, that's all. Deleuze often challenged conventional definitions of art, science, and philosophy. This quote redefines these disciplines as primarily creative endeavors, not bound by the constraints of communication, reflection, or contemplation. It invites us to view art, science, and philosophy as creative processes that transcend traditional boundaries, encouraging innovation and the exploration of new possibilities. A tyrant institutionalizes stupidity, but he is the first servant of his own system and the first to be installed within it. Deleuze often critiqued how power systems perpetuate their own flaws and limitations. This quote reflects on the irony that tyrannical leaders, while imposing limitations and foolishness on others, are themselves deeply entrenched in and limited by their own systems. It encourages a critical view of authority and the self-perpetuating nature of power structures, urging us to question and challenge the systems we live within. Let us create extraordinary words, on condition that they be put to the most ordinary use and that the entity they designate be made to exist in the same way as the most common object. Deleuze believed in the transformative power of language. He advocated for the creative use of words to express complex ideas in simple, everyday terms. This quote champions the idea that extraordinary concepts can and should be expressed in simple, accessible language, making profound ideas more relatable and understandable. In our complex world, this philosophy highlights the need for clarity and simplicity in communication, making sophisticated concepts accessible to a wider audience. It is at work everywhere, functioning smoothly at times, at other times in fits and starts. It breathes, it heats, it eats. It shits and fucks. What a mistake to have ever said the ID. Gilles Deleuze, a pivotal figure in post-structuralist philosophy, dissected the intricacies of human psyche and instinct. His works often challenged established notions, bringing fresh perspectives. Deleuze quote reimagines the Freudian concept of the ID, not as mere primitive instinct but as a dynamic, integral part of life, essential in its raw, unfiltered form. This perspective encourages a holistic acceptance of our natural instincts, crucial in an era that often emphasizes suppression and control over genuine expression. Making love is not just becoming as one, or even two, but becoming as 100,000. Desiring machines or the non-human sex, not one or even two sexes, but n sexes. Deleuze's radical view on sexuality and relationships breaks free from traditional binaries, embracing a fluid, expansive notion of desire and connection. This quote reflects the concept of multiplicities in relationships and sexuality, suggesting that love and desire are not limited to fixed categories but are vast and diverse. This idea challenges the conventional understanding of relationships and sexuality, offering a more inclusive and expansive view that resonates in our diverse and evolving society. Appreciation for joining our journey.